What's important to you? My mission is to ask as many people as possible this question, because I believe once you know what's important, you can design and build a life of purpose, meaning, and fulfillment. My name is James Dean. I'm a life coach, and I hope this podcast inspires you to uncover what's important to you. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at James Dean Coaching, or connect with me on LinkedIn. You can also learn how I can help you understand what's important at jamesdeancoaching.com. Today's guest is a nutrition coach, a keen cook and runner, and has been running on and off for about 20 years. She took a break from being fit and healthy for about 10 years whilst working all over the world as a stressed out business consultant when she became a self-confessed large lady lard-arse. Inspired by London 2012, she turned her life around. She swapped blocks of cheese and bottles of wine for healthier choices and tentatively laced up her trainers and started to run. Slow and steady at first, she set her sights on running the Reading Half Marathon in 2013. It was a horrendous day, but once wrapped in tinfoil, nibbling a banana, and having treasured bling around her neck, she knew she was hooked. Since then, she has run countless half marathons and 18 marathons. She is now a coach, the cheesecake runner, and works with runners who are not typical runners. Get them trained, ready, and prepared to realize their long-held dreams of running a marathon. Today, we find out what's important to Helen Phillips. Hi, Helen. Thank you so much for joining me today.
That's great to be invited.
Oh, I'm delighted. I'm really looking forward to this chat. So, first question on the podcast always is, Helen. So, what is important to you?
Things that are really important to me in my life are learning new things is something really, really important to me. And also supporting and helping others to become and be their best in their life. I think those are two things that are really, really critical for me, really important in my life and how I've lived my life so far and how I work in my business and how I live my life really.
So tell me about the learning new things first, because I think it's a really interesting thing to start with. So where does that sort of come from? Would you put it?
I have always been a learner. I've always been a student. I've always been a little bit academic. I want to learn things. I want to master things. And I've realized that as I've gone through life, it's always the journey to me is always more important, and I get much more out of it than the destination. So as a kid, when we were going through school and academic life and things like that, and this is something I've reflected on over the last week or so, I was much more important in going to school, going to lectures, learning about things than the outcome of exams. I even loved exams, but I wasn't interested in the end result. To me, education and mastery is much more important than the certificate or the qualification or the exam at the end of the day. And that sort of learning has continued all the way through my life, into my business. I used to be a business consultant, and one of the reasons I got into consultancy was I love to be challenged with things that I had no idea about and that I could learn about on the job. So I was always going into different clients in different industries, and I found that kept me excited about my career, about my job, about what I was doing. But that's critical for me all the way through my life. I am a learner, and I will continue that throughout my life, whether it's learning completely different things, mastering things, whether it's education, reading books. I'm just interested in lots of different stuff, and it's all a journey. It's all about enrichment and finding out about things. That's
Mm.
something that's absolutely critical for me.
Yeah, no, I can hear it, and then obviously from the time that I've known you, in a
Yeah.
sense of the amount of different things that you have learned or developed or changed
Mm.
about yourself is clear that you have that, as you say, that interest, and almost, and you say coming across you now, and you're saying that passion for learning, and it's an interesting thing in the sense of the, as you say, the journey and the process and what you learn
Mm.
throughout the actual experience of being involved in something, and marrying that with the results, because it's
Yeah.
interesting you say that it wasn't as, it's not the thing that you're striving for, it per se, is that sort of either certificate or that end result, but it's a hard one sometimes. I think we can all try and balance, because there is an outcome in the end of, with, to
Yeah.
a lot of things we do, and it's, so how do you try and sort of, play that balance as such when you're, when it's specifically in relation to learning, how do you, balance the experience of what you've got from the process and the outcome?
I think what I do internally, now you're putting me on the spot on this one, is
Yeah,
it's almost, the learning is lots of little micro achievements.
yeah,
So it's thinking about things at a micro level rather than at a macro level. Now, I do a lot of running, and we kind of met up through
yeah,
running and the whole fitness world. I love following a training plan. I am a program person. I like structure. I like plans.
yeah,
I do a lot of cooking, recipes, all of that, all of those sorts of things. There's always plan and structure in my life. And what I think it's at the macro level. So each and every run does something different. And it's the
yeah,
achievement of what you deliver, you do in that run, which is a training run, and then seeing how that builds. Likewise, I love cooking. So I follow a recipe to make something. I'm very often not interested in eating the thing that I make. But
yeah,
it's the process. I make
yeah,
bread. It's the process of making bread and being part of that process that really excites me,
yeah,
and that's important to me. It's all really part of the process, and achieving sort of micro goals, let's put it that way,
yeah,
along the way is what helps me, and that's what I'm really interested
yeah.
in terms of my own sort of development and what I do with my life, really.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say, because you say, like, we go back to the, how we, as you say, how we first interacted and met was through sort of running and sort of workshop and events,
Mm,
and I think what you just said there kind of took me back in a sense to, in a sense of when I first started getting into, getting into fitness, shall I put it
yeah.
that way, after sort of my late 20s, early 30s, and that initial goal of mine was, like so many people, was weight loss and
Mm,
things like that, and that was the fixation.
yeah.
And it's only when you kind of, get that shift, where you kind of actually, like you, I found running was one of my sort of physical activities that I really enjoyed, is once you start just enjoying the run,
Yeah.
the weight loss is a byproduct
Yeah,
of it. So
absolutely.
it's just, it's the outcome is the outcome. So it's almost like, yeah, you want it and you want to keep on top of it, but again, it doesn't make you, it didn't make me anyway, better or worse for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just something that happens, and I think that's the kind of like the my approach to things is like, well, if actually just, if I delve deep into the process and really engage with it, I will get a byproduct which hopefully will be the outcome that I'm looking for.
I think you've hit it on the head there. It really is. If you engage with the process, and for me, it's part of that process, and that's what I coach when
Mm,
I coach runners who are not typical runners to run marathons, and they have this amazing goal that it's been their dream to run London or Dublin or New York, and it's so far off that it
mm,
freaks them out. So what I help them to do, again, is engage with that process, get them to focus on what they are doing that day, in that run, in that minute. And to me, that's what I do. That's how I learn. That's how I've developed. That's how I've become a better runner. That's how I've lost weight. And as you say, it's a byproduct. If we'd have obsessed about this big goal, we'd never have got there. And I think for some people are really goal driven, and they will always have that in their mind, and the macro goal is really important. But not everyone is like that. I think when people we always ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? I've never known what I wanted to be. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up, and I'm 55. I don't think I'll ever grow up, but I've had a valued life from focusing on the process, focusing on the experience, and getting as much experience under my belt, because that's what drives me. That's what I love. That's what I love about my life, and that's what I love about coaching as well. It's the process of it and engaging with people in that process.
Yeah, and I really, when you just said there, that question, you say, like, we all were asked, and maybe this still asked. It probably is, because it's just part of a societal norm to say, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's when you think about it now through reflection, it really is quite a random question.
Oh, it is. What did you want to be when you grew up, then, James?
I'm trying to think, in the sense of, like, if I was to try and think back, it probably would have been all I would have said there would have been sport. I wouldn't know what actually it would have meant. I don't know if that would have meant to be a sports person, or like, because it was one of those, I was definitely one of those kids that was good at everything, but not excellent in one. I made every team, but I wasn't the star player in one team. I was very much a utility. I could do a bit of everything. So I was never sort of, and it's probably a reflection of me now. I kind of still quite broad in a sense of my thinking and my changing, and that probably similar to yourself in that sort of absorbing information. It's rarely fixed. So I would have said, if I was going very reflective back, it was been sport. And I'm remembering a flippant comment I used to say to people when they say that was, what a few words, it was, I'd win the lottery. That hasn't happened yet. That certainly hasn't happened yet. Or I remember now, I used to say I'd own a hot dog stand, but that only used to come about because I'm a mad Queen fan, and it was like one of the lines in one of the songs or something. So I would never engage in that real defining of what I would be. It's an interesting one to reflect on now. So it probably demonstrates my sort of working life, in a sense of, I've gone from a corporate world to completely just absolute 360. Very probably similar to yourself.
We've done the same. We've done exactly the same. I think when I was a kid, I wanted to be a ballet dancer. And then as I got into school and became good, I was passionate scientist. I loved chemistry was my thing, and I then wanted to be a research chemist, but only because I was good at it. And there was never that drive, and there still isn't. And people say, well, what is your goal now in business? And it's like, it still is more the process than the goal. And that's difficult when you are a solopreneur and you think, well, actually, I love the process and I love what I'm doing, but I'm not sure where my 5-year plan, my long-term vision is. I don't have one, which I'm working on.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because it goes against every sort of quote unquote rule for businesses and things like that as well. And it kind of, I'm probably in a little bit earlier in the process for you than you in relation to that. But I remember asking someone we both know, Jerry Duffy, and I remember asking him a question a few months ago, just as a chat, like, can you explain what you actually do? And he says, well, I'm 10, 11 years still trying to figure that out. And I think sometimes it's that thing of, we can look to people and think, oh no, they must know the answer. But I think everyone is still in that process. And sometimes defining it would end the process, if that makes sense.
And there's like that U2 song, still haven't found what I'm looking for.
Completely.
You know what? That's almost like, life's a journey, it's an evolution, and I'm learning all the way through, and I take opportunities, probably like yourself. It's probably why we're here. Because we think similar ways, and we are going in the direction of looking for fulfillment rather than a particular goal.
And I think that is a really important word, in a sense, of that fulfillment, because I think it's like, it kind of ties in, and you already said it there, when I asked the first question, in the sense of one of the areas of fulfillment, maybe this, don't put words in your mouth, but it's that thing of, as you said, supporting other people. So it's part of, it's what you're doing. It's kind of, there's something bigger than you. It's the other people that you're helping as well.
Yeah.
So tell me, tell me a little bit more about the sense of when you decided to go into this sort of this business, in a sense of setting up as, to help people essentially who aren't runners running. Where's the sense of helping them? Where's the support element come into it for you?
So I think I've always been very external in terms of supporting, and I was a business consultant. So like you, I've done the about turn. So I was the business consultant. When I was a business consultant, I worked with business leaders, really helping them to restructure and implement change in their business. So I was helping them make their businesses the best they could be within a vision. And I believe now I'm a coach, and I coach runners who are not, I'm going to say, traditional runners. A lot of them don't think of themselves as runners, but they have that dream, they have that goal, and I coach and inspire them to achieve that, because they might have that goal. A lot of people come to me and they say, look, I've wanted to run London Marathon ever since I was, a small kid sitting on my dad's knee, and we watched it together. I've got to do it because he's getting older, he's not going to be around for long, and I promised him that one day I would do it. I have no idea how to run. So I work with people like that, putting those structures in place, and I get so much out of it. It's just seeing them progress, seeing their struggles, helping them through the difficult times, showing them the pathway, and really helping them to believe in themselves, because very often it's that belief that holds us back. And so what I do when I coach is really help people to believe in their dreams, because at the end of the day, we can all achieve our dreams. They're not just there in the ether, but you need a plan, you need some structure to go there. And I did say to you, I didn't really have a goal, but I have the framework. So I probably take my approach, my frameworks, and help people who do have that goal, that dream, that ultimate desire, to make it happen, and put them in a little bit more structure, coach, engage, inspire them, really set them on the path to believing in themselves, that they can do whatever they put their mind towards.
And this is a question maybe for you, and then maybe also for the people you work with, is because from my experience of getting involved in running marathons and an endurance sport, is in general, is the changes in myself are much more than, quote unquote, just running.
Oh, absolutely.
So tell me, because I'd love to, because people maybe have heard me talk about it before. I'd love to hear from you and maybe some of the people you work with, in a sense of what it actually opens up outside of, again, quote unquote, just running a marathon.
I mean, for starters, me running has completely changed my life. We would never have spoken. We wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be married to the man I'm married to had I not made the decision about 10 years ago. It was 2012. I went to the London Olympics and decided to get my life back on track. And had I not done that, had I not really engaged with getting myself back on track with my mental health, my physical health, my fitness, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I've made very similar changes with the mostly ladies that I coach. Very often they're not believing in themselves. and in a bit of a dark space, not really too sure where to go, how to move forward. And I think it's got, but we've had some nice ups and downs, or bad ups and downs, over the last couple of years with COVID. People who were previously, fit, healthy, had dreams and goals, have gone into a bit of a funk. So right now we've got a lot of people who've got inspired over the last couple of years to take up sports, take up exercise, and they've got nice dreams and goals. And other people are going, oh, I used to be so motivated. How the hell can I move forward? So I think that what I have done with quite a number of people is really help them to re-engage with themselves again. And I think we'll have to reflect that we are not the person we were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago. We work with who we are and what we are now to move forward. And a lot of the runners that I work with, I said that they are, I'm going to say, middle-aged women, 40 plus women, generally 90% of the people I work with. And they're all out there, and most of us want to, prove to society, prove to friends and families that we're not past it, we can do it. And working with these ladies, women, girls, and helping them get to the finish line of a race, the emotion, the changes in them when they cross the finish line, they get the bling around their neck, they get the banana in their hand, and they look back at those race photos and said, I blooming well did it. And that I have seen quite a few people completely change their lives. They've changed jobs. It's given them confidence to do anything. I know a fair number who've got divorced because they won't settle for a life that they previously had. So running and completing that goal, that dream, that running that marathon or whatever race it is, or doing whatever sport, very often it's all of those other intangible things in your life. You suddenly realize that you are not what your family or friends had pigeonholed you as being at the age of 5. You're this being who can achieve, can do things that other people thought impossible. And that is something I absolutely love. I get so much out of that. When people write me testimonials and said, I was the girl at school who was picked last in games. And that was me. I wasn't sporty at all. And they sort of say, and now I've run a marathon. And I didn't just run it, I ran it strong with a smile to the finish line. And that is so rewarding, because you've taken someone and changed their life and their perception of themselves.
It's so powerful to hear what you're saying. And I can as you're telling me as well, I can almost see those people, even though I've never met them. Do you know what I mean? Because I have seen them.
Because we know them.
We know
who these people are.
Completely. And it's like one of the sort of my almost like philosophies is, and kind of you demonstrated in such a brilliant way there, is like to change your life and using physical activity as a vehicle for that. Because there's so many things we can do, and working, as you say, with mental health, physical health, emotional health, maybe spiritual, but there's something about pushing your body to a limit where all of those other elements are engaged. Because it's kind of like, if you're draining yourself physically, or doing something that the body is aching, screaming, tiring, whatever it is, and you are able to find it somewhere, and we've all been in, if you're listening and you've done any sort of really extraneous physical activity, you've gone through injuries, you've gone through tears, you've gone through, literally you just want to quit, but you keep going. It's, as you say, it does elevate you to do something. And I think it's really the interesting point you said there is the amount of people that have, following working with you and then completing those marathons, who have completely changed their lives.
And it's difficult to, when they start off, you say, oh, this is going to change your life, because we don't like change as people. But once they engage with the process, it's not about speed, it's not about time, it's about that transformation. And all of a sudden, sometimes the penny drops, and you can see people spark up, and it's like, I'm going to do this. I have changed so much as a person, and that's so rewarding to see people believe in themselves, and get to the end. And it is about engaging your body, your mind, and your soul to achieve something and be part of that journey.
And it's one of the other things that, because you just mentioned there as well, in sense of it's you have these almost like sliding door moments, where it's like how things you can go back to, that moment, and then these things follow on. And one of those is the fact that us meeting in some ways, the fact that if neither of us had got into running, and those moments, how we would have paths not crossed. And one of the things that I found through anything that I've done, and communities I've got involved in through be sport or now coaching, it is the people you connect with. And it's like, it's one of the biggest positives that come out of anything, is the fact that I've met people through all these different things that I do, sport being one of them and running being one of them, from around the world. It's an amazing thing, and it demonstrates to me how important community and connection is to all of us.
Absolutely. And you know what? One of the things that really annoys me is when people start slagging off social media and Facebook, because I use Facebook as a way to connect community, and it has been really valuable for me in my life, to connect with people and to meet with people. And I know not everybody uses social media in the same way around connection. There's a lot of angry people out there who are blasting away their opinions, but social media is a great way of actually connecting and engaging with people in a broader sense, as I say, all around the world. We've both met people and engaged with people and made friends and community and connection with people all around the world, and it's a way we all keep in touch with people as well. So how do we get into social media?
No, but it is, you're right though, because it isn't that using that in the way that you use it and the way that I hope to use it, and I try to use it myself, in a sense of growing that community, because it is a way of immediately breaking down a physical barrier, in the fact that I'm not in the same space as that person. But when it comes to community, in a sense of, it's that shared experience. And it's like, if you're a runner in London or in Dublin or in Westmeath or New York or Australia, you'll have a shared experience. The run might be slightly different, but you still all know what that bad run was like, or that good run, or how this felt. You can tap into that, and that's where I think the power of it is huge, and the powerful, the positive intent of social media should be absolutely used in that way. One of the other things that you had down, in a sense of when you sent on to me, is, and I want to ask about this, is space and freedom. What do you mean by space and freedom?
That's a really interesting question. It's in some respects, it's a little bit of a feeling. I am quite a sociable person. I connect with people, I work through people, I engage with people, I love being with people, but I also need that complete downtime, and the way I describe it is I hibernate. And that's something else that's really important to me. I get moments where being with people, I feel very claustrophobic, and downtime for me very often isn't with friends and family. That can drain my energy. Where I regroup, where I build my energy, is those hibernation moments, almost like sitting in a dark room. If I could bury myself into the ground and just go to sleep for a hibernation period, that to me is just like nirvana. So I kind of need that freedom and space to regroup, to rebuild my energy. It's a time of recuperation. It's a time of just being very inward rather than being outwards, because we talked all about outward stuff so far. And yeah, I support people, I help people, I do all of that good stuff, and I'm there for everybody, but I need my downtime, and it's very much internal stuff. So I call it my hibernation moments. And things like I do a lot of cooking, and for me, cooking is my space. It's my me time. It's like I do it on my own as a way of just regrouping. So the other thing that's important to me is that freedom and space to rejuvenate myself.
Yeah, no, I completely can feel that and resonate with that as well. And I do it in similar ways, I suppose. I would be cooking for me would be one. I do quite enjoy like a bit of food prep and things like that, and that sort of stuff. I think I've mentioned it probably in a few episodes before. Is like walking the dogs is definitely one for me, and one that I've been getting into more so in the more recent years after moving house is gardening, and which is quite a hilarious thing that my parents would laugh at me now, or my dad certainly did before he passed away last year. Would laugh, and he'd laugh at me now again still, because he was always into gardening. Mad into gardening, my mum especially, but my dad was always into gardening. And so when we were kids, we were roped into it. Sometimes, kicking and screaming. Sometimes it was just getting to do something physical, because if you'd always chopping down a tree or digging up a stump, or you'd be doing something. And I remember he always used to hold me. That I remember saying once, is like, oh, when I'm growing, I'm just going to tarmac everything, because I was just sick of digging or doing whatever. And then and as soon as I got the new house, he was just laughing at me and that. So it's what I found from it is that same thing of like any one of those things, whether it's I'm walking the dogs, doing the gardening, that's what I'm doing. At that moment,
re-engaging with yourself.
Completely. And it's not necessarily to ignore thoughts. It's kind of, in some ways, it's an active mindfulness. In some ways, it's kind of just allow things to just a thought to come through and go, but still with the doing of something of could be just mowing the lawn, it could be digging something up, replanting, whatever it is. It's a way of doing something. And then there's also those moments where it's just the ability, just the time to just think.
Do you know something I really love is doing jigsaw puzzles.
Wow.
and
love it.
That's another thing. I probably don't indulge myself more than once or twice a year. Around Christmas, always get an enormous jigsaw puzzle. And that is really my ultimate zoning out hibernation moment. God forbid someone wants to do it with me, or talking to me, because it's when I will go into myself and almost like meditate. And I've been doing this since I was a kid. I've had a jigsaw puzzle given to me at Christmas every single year of my life. And it is something I do to get away from the stress of family at Christmas. I'm doing my jigsaw puzzle because I've OD'd on entertainment. So that's a way that I zone out, recuperate, just build myself back up, build that energy back up. So cooking, running, going for long walks. Before I really got into running, I used to go out for a long walk every Sunday for a couple of hours. And I think now I run, and now I'm going out always every Sunday on a long run. I'm actually looking at my watch, or I'm thinking about the run a little bit more. I'm thinking more about training. So I'm not giving myself that opportunity. So I think I need to just downtime a little bit more in my long runs. But I used to go out for long walks before I got into running, and that really was a time just to process everything that was going on in my mind.
I think it's I love the fact that you said you mentioned jigsaws then, because it's one of those things where I think a lot of people, and maybe some people who are listening to this, can come up with maybe an idea that they think that they would, I'd like to do that. with it, not the extreme, or maybe potential when we say extreme of running a marathon, but just something like that. It could be doing a jigsaw. It could be getting involved in some sort of creativity, paints, pencils,
Mm.
drawings, sketchings, whatever. And they suddenly stop themselves doing it because there's that whole worried of, oh God, what will someone say? Me
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
that, or what will they think of, or someone my age can't do this. They
Mm.
immediately put a stopper on something that could give them, as you say, that downtime, peace of
Yeah.
mind, rejuvenation. It's like, it really is. It's like it's to try and get across to people. There's nothing too silly,
No.
or it really is. So I'm so glad you said that, because people will think, it's really funny how people can go, oh no, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, like knitting or just
Yeah,
anything like that. It's,
absolutely.
for me, I have to do something.
Yeah.
There's this concept. There's a guy I follow called Brandon Lucero, and he's an entrepreneur and coaches entrepreneurs. And one of his concepts is sitting in silence. If you go for a walk, or you do sit for 10 minutes in silence, or you take a shower, that's when you have your best ideas. All of a sudden they just pop into you. It's like that white space, that white noise in your brain. Well, I'm the sort of person, I can't, that sometimes works, but I think I have to do something. So I am doing something at the primeval level, doing the jigsaw puzzle. I'm not thinking about anything. It's just kind of happening. Me making bread, kneading dough, things like it's happening. It's that physical process. So I'm using my hands, but and then my brain is in that white space, that white noise space, to rejuvenate, but also bring those ideas and get that creativity. So for me, sitting in silence is I'm doing something with my hands at the same time. And it's where your creativity comes from, as you said. And we shouldn't be afraid of doing what sparks us.
Yeah.
Just doodling, whatever it is, just to sit in silence and allow our thoughts just to waft over us. It's not meditation, but it is. It has a very similar output. So that's what I meant by freedom and space. There we go. We got quite deep on that one.
No, absolutely. I think it's a really a really important thing to emphasize, in a sense of, like, because one of the things that, for me, and then I think, and what you've demonstrated there for you, and I think whenever anyone I'm talking to, in a sense of, like, from a coaching perspective, is there is this element, I think, of, you just said it there, about the internal and focusing on the individual as a person. And sometimes we can misconstrue that as being selfish. Where it's not. It's really the whole thing of either self-care or self-love, or whatever way you want to turn it. But it really is about, again, like, you minding yourself is just as important as minding other people. And it has to kind of start with you. It's not, and in some ways you may think of being selfish, but that's okay sometimes as well, to really have those moments, and to do something that no one else gets. Doesn't matter if no one else gets it, because it works for you.
Yeah. And I think it's super important for all of us to do that and recognize that we do need that self-care. And the more busy you are, the more it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one I like to throw at people, just because it interests me. I like quotes and mantras and things like that. They kind of do speak a lot to me, and I would use from time to time. And I like seeing when someone puts out something that talks to me. Are there any sort of either quotes or phrases, mantras that you would use or refer to? Does that come across in your life when you're doing anything?
Not really. I'm kind of the only thing that's popping into my mind is the Nike "Just Do It." No, I'm not really a words person. Give me numbers any day. Quotes. I'd forget them.
All right.
So yeah, I'm not really a quotes person.
No, I love it, and that's kind of why I find it really interesting to find out how people take that. So where would you say then, if how else would you maybe get some, whether it be inspiration or motivation? Is it, do you take influence from other people, or where would you take that from then yourself?
Motivation, inspiration.
Mm,
Where do I take it? I do take it from other people.
mm,
I'm inspired by other people who've followed a similar journey.
mm.
Yeah, who inspires me? Yeah, lots of seeing people achieve things,
Yeah,
seeing people change. It's not it's seeing the underdog
yeah,
achieve. I'm very much about the underdog. One of my favorite films is Eddie the Eagle.
yeah, yeah,
So that sort of concept of that, Brittany runs a marathon, that sort of thing really,
yes,
really inspires me. Those sorts of messages,
yes,
that the non-traditional person can do something. That's what inspires
yes,
me. That's
yeah,
what hooks me in. Yes, it's
yeah,
great to see athletes achieve things, but actually the common man achieving something,
yeah,
I find immensely inspirational.
yeah,
I don't know if you know the chap Steve Way. Um,
yeah,
he
yeah,
he runs marathons, or at least he did, and maybe about 10 years ago he was a chain smoking, reasonably obese bloke, and then he decided to lace up his shoes and started running, and he realized he was good at it, and actually qualified for the Commonwealth Games. I think he was like second in London Marathon one year on
yeah,
of British runners.
yes, right,
And his story, going from nothing
yeah,
to that, I mean, he's obviously clearly got talent.
yeah,
Hugely inspirational. Just seeing people achieve that sort of thing
yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah, no, completely. I completely agree with that sort of, because I think, and I think as well, like there's the ones that sort of that like Steve in the sense of go to that level, and then you see the odd sort of one that goes viral. But I think as well, it's like when we see them, when you go to a mass participation event, whether it be a marathon or a triathlon or those sorts, or a
Mhm.
cycle, or I'm sure the same people maybe get it when they go to events like CrossFit and any of those big
Mm.
things, where it's like I always find when you get into those spaces in that community, it's like you're always going to have someone who's come first, you're always going to have someone who comes last, but the um, feeling across the board is everyone's there in it
Yeah.
together, and the respect you have for each other for the effort. And it comes back to what I think what you were saying earlier, in the sense of that process. It's like the respect of effort
Mm.
is hugely inspiring, in the sense of like that, to just people who just that real determination
Yeah.
to just
Yeah.
keep going is massive. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've made so many friends through the years of inspirational people who've achieved against the odds,
Mm.
and they just, through bloody determination, they have got to where they are. They might still come last in a race,
Yeah.
but that is a massive achievement, because
Yeah.
it takes guts to come last. It takes more
Yeah.
guts to come last than it does to come in the middle of the pack, because people are looking at you, judging, and they've got all of that on top of themselves, as well as their training and what they've had to achieve.
Mm. No, absolutely. No, I really love that, and it's I can see how that, and I think I can see then how that sort of inspiration is that really then inspires you for what you're doing
Mm,
within your business. You can completely see it. I have one more question for you, Helen,
okay.
which is what's important for your future?
So you prepped me up on this one, and I
I
said, oh,
did.
I'm not sure on this one. Do you know what? I started this off by saying I'm a lifelong learner. So what is important for me for my future is that I continue to evolve as a person. I keep learning. I keep moving forward on this journey.
Mm,
That is critical for me. That's it. I've never mastered something. I what's really important for the future is continual learning, getting enjoyment out of the process, out of life.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant, love it. Helen, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. We will make sure that obviously all of your how people can follow you and connect with you will be on the show notes. But if you want to give a shout out now as well to where people can follow you, you can do that now as well.
Okay, so Facebook is where I connect with most of my audience, and I'm the Cheesecake Runner on Facebook because I love cheese, I love cake, and I love running. So that's who I am. And I have a big Facebook group called the London Marathon Training and Support Group. Come and hang out with me there. If you're a runner, you don't have to be running London. We've got runners in that group who are training for lots of different halves and marathons. So if you want some tips and advice about how to get trained, ready and prepared to run your best in your race, come and join us. So that's really how you can find me.
Brilliant stuff. As I said, we will make sure they are all shared in the notes as well. So last time, thank you, Helen, so much for joining me today. It's an absolute pleasure chatting to you.
Great to talk to you too, James.
Thank you for listening to What's Important to You. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment and share. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Again, you can follow me at James Dean Coaching on Facebook and Instagram. Connect with me on LinkedIn or find out more about me on jamesdeancoaching.com.